Alright everyone, and so Alien Earth has officially launched on Hulu. It just had its 2 episode premiere, and it's especially for a show that is connected to the Alien franchise that it wanted to expand itself. And I have to say, I am impressed, and I think that this is one of the best shows ever of 2025, as it is really structured like a sort of TV format that we never got to see before in this franchise. And so I'm gonna dive into all right now. Right now, this will be my full non-spoiler review, go over my thoughts and my impressions, especially for how this was gonna work and if this did impress me. But I'm gonna get into all that right now. And so, if you're new, then be sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any future videos. But now, let's talk about this show. And now, I want to start off by saying for how this franchise has ended up becoming so big, especially as it started off with Alien from 1979, and then Aliens from James Cameron, especially as it's had hits and misses throughout all the years, and especially the most recent movie, Alien Romulus from 2024, and now, I was impressed with that movie because it really gone back to the franchise's early roots. And now, especially telling the story that is set 2 years before the first Alien from Ridley Scott, and for what we get in Alien Earth is a sort of like a type of storytelling that we never got to see, especially for how they wanted this to be told, especially as this has come from creator Noah Hawley, but also Ridley Scott also served as an executive producer, so he definitely has a role on this, because in 1979's Alien, it definitely became a phenomenon. It had changed the genre of sci-fi horror forever. And now, especially diving into this show, I was really impressed for what they had to give us, especially with characters and their moments, and also the development and chemistry between each character for what the plot really shows, especially with its elements, and even though for how this is structured and how it is laid out, and even though this show wastes no time into getting into the main thing, the Xenomorphs. Even for what I was impressed by with the first 2 episodes, it really goes back into the roots for what we really love about this franchise, and that is with a crew exploring a ship, and a monster is on it. Like, especially with the whole premise of the show, that with a ship that crashes on Earth, and then with a group of soldiers that go to investigate the crash, and then they come face to face with an enemy, and that is the Xenomorph. And you know, I definitely like for how we get introduced to the story, especially for what our characters go through, especially with Wendy, and that is a synthetic figure that is transformed, especially from a sick child, and even though that she is a robot being, and even though for what this type of character goes through, it's sort of like very interesting, and especially as she is on the search for her brother. And even for what these first 2 episodes really takes you on, it's really settled into the story, the thrilling elements, a type of scares that we love in this franchise. Because even though with a show like this that was gonna go to streaming, even though I was a bit worried for what they were gonna do to it, because especially as we all love the early Alien movies, but in terms of with the show itself, and they completely nailed it on all cylinders. And especially like from the action and to how the kills go down, it is such a good way to really get moving into the show and its main elements and layers and its storytelling very, very quickly. And I just like for how the show is basically set up. Even though it's only like 2 episodes that we got, and by the end of the second episode, I'm really dying for more, because especially for what we have to explore in the show that is to take place before the first Alien, before Ripley and her crew were on that ship battling the Xenomorph, but especially for what's going to lead into that movie, that's going to be questions that's going to be answered, especially by the end of the show. And especially I like how we're introduced to our main characters, but even though it starts off as like a slow burn, but it really gets going by when we get to the later half of the first episode. But then by episode 2, you'll really want to be creeping into more, and especially with the Xenomorph that is now the enemy, and especially with our main characters that are figuring out how to take down this thing. I also want to add on is that for how the show looks and how it feels, it definitely has that Ridley Scott flair, because for what he did with Alien, that was basically huge. But especially for what he wanted to put with his some type of vision as an EP to a show like this, it definitely has a sort of meaning. You know, I did not want them to mess this up, but it feels just like a movie, but on a streaming service, because it's especially for how this was structured and for how this was going to be put to a TV format, for what type of storytelling this was going to unfold, especially for what type of answers that we were going to get, and we were going to learn more about the Xenomorph and the synthesetics, and that's what we get introduced to earlier on in the show. It really dives you deep into for what you need to know about the show, especially as what it does it set up for how it's going to end. It really lays the groundwork on that side of that type of story. But yeah, it definitely has that VFX work, and it definitely has a sort of like action sequences that we really fell in love with when we were first introduced to with the Alien franchise. And I think episode 2 has by far been my favorite so far, because it's especially as a lot of things go down. I mean, I don't want to get into too much, but there's like kills and there's like so much stuff that happens. It really gets really ripping into the plot and story very fast. And there's like something like about the show that it definitely feels like proper, accurate storytelling, especially within this universe that this franchise has established. I mean, they can do anything, and especially coming off of the recent Alien movie from last year, but now exploring the origin story in the show, and it definitely works. And it's especially for how our main character is going to survive, if they're going to make it out alive, especially with the Xenomorph that is on the ship, and there's going to be more mysteries and more reveals to be discovered, and I cannot wait to see for how it leads into the rest of the show, for how it's all going to end, and hopefully it like sticks the landing, like fingers crossed. But yeah, like it's just like a crazy show, and I'm glad that they put this out, and it definitely tells more of this expansive world. It really centers upon like more of the Xenomorph, because one of those monsters now a household name for what it is made towards. And wow, I mean, even though it is only the first 2 episodes, and I am definitely hooked for the rest of the show has to be told itself upon. I definitely like our characters and how they are properly developed for us to get attached to these characters, for what they have to learn, how they're going to make their choices, and whether in the battle for just for those thrills and the elements, and especially with the scares, and it definitely felt real. And wow, I think like, and as I mentioned before, like the kills in the show are definitely more impactful and more powerful. I mean, as far as I like the kills in the earlier movies, but now it's just especially having it in like streaming format, and wow, it is so damn amazing, that I will tell you. Just with the entire show alone, I definitely love it, and especially I love the character of Wendy, and I just hope she becomes a great final girl by the end of the show. And I think that she is a great character for how she is introduced in the beginning of the show, especially within episode 1, especially for how she's going to be progressed as a main character alongside with the other supporting side characters for what like they have to go through. I mean, trust me, especially for everything that I've seen out of the first 2 episodes. I'm hoping that any of the side characters are going to be making it out alive. Yeah, so this is a completely a different format that the franchise has never got a chance to explore. I mean, this is a universe that everyone loves. I mean, everyone loves the Alien movies, but and specifically like just for the show alone, and it is definitely going to be at the top of my list for best shows ever to come out in 2025, and I think this show is perfect. Yeah, I found the beginning of it pretty draggy, but it really kicks into gear by episode 2, just so you get the feeling of for what's really going on. But yeah, I fell in love with it, especially with the storytelling for what it really wants to lay the groundwork for how this is all going to wrap up. And I think I have a definite feeling it could be delivering the most epic ending that we've ever seen. That's going to set up the 1979 movie, and I think it's going to connect a lot more. So especially, I mean, fans out there that are in love with the franchise, there are Easter eggs and details, especially in the first 2 episodes, that you'll immediately spot that's going to connect to the 1979 Alien movie. So yeah, that's all I gotta say, and I've enjoyed Alien Earth so far, and I can't wait to see for how the show ends, so especially as it has come out weekly, and I think we'll definitely get a lot more answers, especially if, gosh, I hope some of characters have made all that, but we're not sure. But yeah, it is a great show, great storytelling, great VFX, action, thrills, scares, kills, you name it. But yeah, so that's all I got. But that's gonna do it for this video. Just let me know in the comments down below, and what were your thoughts on Alien Earth, if you've seen it. Did you enjoy the first 2 episodes? Let me know in the comment section down below, and give me a rating to 1 out of 10, 10 being the highest. Don't forget to like the video, and subscribe to turn on notifications for future videos, and also follow all my social medias, all linked down below. And with that, I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace.